leading into the next topic, what's not considered real food is artificial sweeteners. There's a reason it's called artificial sweeteners, because they're not real foods, they're synthesized. And like in the case of aspartame, it was actually made by accident in a lab. He made a mistake in the lab and he accidentally licked his finger and realized it was really sweet. And that's how aspartame came to be as an artificial sweetener. So there's a variety of types. So aspartame, it could also go under the trademark names Equal or NutraSweet. Then there's sucralose, which is commonly known as Splenda, but there's a whole bunch of other, like I think Sugar Twin also uses sucralose. There's other brands that use sucralose. Acylsulfame K, where the K stands for potassium. Cyclamate, which is found in Sweet and Low and Sugar Twin, and is banned in the States, but it's allowed in Canada.
The
cyclamate.
Oh, cyclamate, no.
And saccharin, it was banned in Canada because based on studies, there was studies on rats that had bladder tumors from consuming saccharin, but they said that the study was faulty and now they're allowing saccharin back into Canada. So look out for that. And all of these are not made by Mother Nature. They're all synthesized in a lab. And it's in a lot of diet foods, which I don't know if you guys are into, but it's not, in my opinion, real food. So regardless of whether or not it's non-caloric or whatever, I don't believe that it helps people lose weight. Instead, I think it does the opposite. One thing that I really feel strongly about is that when you get that sweet taste, and these are extremely sweet compared to anything you'll find in nature. You don't get, like cane sugar is very sweet, but aspartame is 200 to 300 times sweeter than cane sugar. So in nature you don't have that sweetness. And having that intense sweet hit your tongue, it signals your brain, oh, I'm gonna get the calories to match that sweetness. But in this case, you're getting the sweet, but you're not getting the calories to match. So then your body's like, oh, well then I'm gonna stimulate hunger so I can eat more to satisfy that missing piece of the puzzle. And I find this with a lot of people. Like I have friends that admit that they'll have Diet Coke and then they're hungry afterwards. And I honestly feel that that's the case when it comes to artificial sweeteners, is that it tricks your taste buds. And I also feel that in our society we're so addicted to sweet, we're so addicted to sugar, and we're completely altered that we want everything a lot more sweeter than what it normally is. And you know, when I visited Asia years ago, the Vietnamese would, like, we brought some of like our traditional maple syrup and pancakes because we were told to bring something from our country in Canada. There's not too much cultural stuff except for pancakes and maple syrup, and they were like, oh, this is so sweet, because they're not used to that sweet stuff. Whereas here it's normal for us to eat all these sweet things, but that's because we've tricked our taste buds, we've altered our taste buds. All of these processed foods have made us crave sweeter things, and we're also losing this taste, like bitter taste. It's very lacking in our society, but in traditional Chinese medicine, in traditional Indian medicine, that bitter taste is incorporated into our diets. Whereas here, it's very lacking, and it's more towards the sweet and the salty, and very little of the bitter. So we're losing that balance. And in addition, there's been a recent study in the Nature journal, and it was also, if you want to Google in Scientific America, they have an article based on that study where they found that artificial sweeteners alter your gut bacteria. And so in our digestive system, we have, you might have heard a lot about probiotics. We have good bacteria, we have bad bacteria, and needs to be a fine balance. And there's also, you know, some fungus in there. It sounds gross, but yeah, it's normally resident in our gut. But with poor diet, we can alter that microbiome, and we have, and that's where a lot of digestive issues in this society that we live in, there's a lot of people with digestive issues. And so artificial sweeteners, what they found was that it actually depleted your good gut bacteria. It created this, what they call a dysbiosis, so an imbalance. And when you deplete that, they found that it made you gain weight more. It made you prone to diabetes more when you have this altered gut bacteria. And there are other ways too. So artificial sweeteners is one of them. Eating too much sugar, regular sweeteners in general, can feed candida. That's a fungus. So when candida is fed and then your good bacteria is depleted, so you eat artificial sweeteners and you deplete it, and then you feed it with grains and carbs that you've had since early age, and then put in antibiotics. We've all been put on antibiotics. I'm pretty sure at some point in our life, I've been put on antibiotics since a little kid. We eat meat that's been given antibiotics, so there's so many more antibiotics. Pardon?
Roundup is patented. Roundup is the one that we talked before. It's patented as antibiotic.
Oh, is it?
Yes, this is one of the active of Agent Orange that was killed in Vietnam. There are fields that for years now doesn't grow anything on them. It's because of this Roundup. And Roundup is on genetically modified foods, but not only. It's on wheat, it's on oats, not organic oats. They cane sugar.
Yeah.
They spray it about a week before they want to harvest it, because then it's killing them, and then they harvest it. It's easier for the machines to harvest. If it's green, like they become live. So actually, we're ingesting a lot of Roundup in its antibiotics, and Roundup specifically, it's fat solvent. So everything with the oils, like corn oil, canola oil, all of those, because they're fat based. So basically, you ingesting fat and antibiotic together. So it's very scary, like by itself, and plus all the artificial sweeteners.
Yeah, so all of that, and then we've got antibiotics, and then we've got genetically modified foods, sprayed Roundup, and then, you know, so many years like of sugar, of eating grains. We feed the candida, and candida, when it gets fed, it calls out for more, so it creates more cravings. So the good bacteria usually keeps the candida in check, but if we deplete it, then there's nothing to keep it in check, and it wants to continue to grow. So it's gonna call out and create those cravings like nobody's business, because that's what it does. It wants to continue to grow, so it's gonna create those sugar cravings. So that's just, you know, artificial sweeteners solely based on like how it affects weight loss, and there's a bunch of other health concerns with artificial sweeteners as well, like cancer being one of them. And I mentioned that, you know, studies on saccharin have shown tumors in bladders of rats. So is that something you want to be ingesting? Well, I don't. So that's something to keep in mind. Artificial sweeteners, they're synthesized in the lab. They deplete your gut bacteria, and in my opinion, they don't help with weight loss. Yeah. Any questions about that?
You're saying to look up artificial sweeteners, look up under scientific something?
Scientific America. It's a magazine.
Okay.
It's also online. They have some of their articles online, and you can read up about that. And then they talk about how by altering gut bacteria, it affects your blood sugar levels, it affects diabetes, affects your ability to lose weight, all that.
Okay.
So can you find, for example, in honey, these components?
No, honey it's a natural sugar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So honey is good in my books, but all that like sugar, natural sweetener sugar, maple syrup, coconut sugar, I like to recommend those, but still in small quantities, because I want to really work on encouraging people to retrain their taste buds to, you know, just use it as a little sweetness, just add a little sweetness, but not to the level of, you know, processed foods. Because if I used to love, you know, those chocolates called Ferrero Rocher at Christmas time, and I like loved having those chocolates. And then a couple Christmases ago, I visited my parents, and they had, someone had given it as a gift, and so I'm like, I'm just gonna treat myself to one. I took a bite and I spit it out. I couldn't even finish it because it was just, for me, so sweet. I'm so grateful that I, you know, cleansed of the sugar, and I've realized how sweet, you know, we really need things, and how sweet these foods have kind of altered our taste buds. So when it comes to those, like honey, you know, if you want to put a little bit in your tea just for that little bit of sweetness,
Sometimes, like,
you know, a little bit.
Sometimes when you're craving for the sweet, maybe once in a week, I can have like tea with not table, like small spoon of
honey,
and a little like lemon, something like that.
Yeah.
Or if you feel cold.
And it's just, it's those are the better sweeteners, in my opinion, if you're gonna go for something sweet. And I'm all about, like, my constitution, my type of personality. I'm a cold turkey kind of person, so I did a candida cleanse, like cut it out of my diet, and that's how I was able to get rid of the sugar cravings. But for some people it's weaning off, so just, you know, gradually getting off if you're that type of person, you know, because sugar is an addictive substance. So for everyone, getting off an addiction, there's a different process for everyone. So it's kind of figuring out what works for you. So leading into our next topic, allergenic foods, and I want to clarify what allergenic foods. I use this term because a lot of people don't understand the word sensitivity, and I like to group it all together under allergies because people they understand that term more than food sensitivity. But when we think of allergies, we think of, let's say, a peanut allergy, where as soon as someone has peanuts, their airways close up, they swell up, their eyes swell shut, or a seafood allergy where they blow up. That's an immediate allergy, and that's easily tested by the medical system. They have the prick test, where they test you with a whole bunch of allergens, and they can find what is causing what you immediately react to. Food sensitivities, on the other hand, can cause symptoms hours to days later, so it's not immediate. So in my case, eggs, if I have eggs, a few days later I'll get a rash. My husband, if he has dairy, the next day he'll break out into hives. So these are reactions that happen hours to days later, which unfortunately in the medical system, they only have time to really test what's happening immediately, and they don't really focus a lot on the foods that can cause your body to react, because it's still causing your body to react in a different way, but your immune system is still affected. It's stimulated, thinking, like for me, my body's like, these eggs are dangerous, so it's going to stimulate the immune system to get rid of those eggs. And how it appears for me is through a rash. How dairy appears through my husband is through hives. So it affects everyone differently. I don't know, do you guys know if you have any food sensitivities, or Victoria, do you? Yeah.
Gluten, for sure.
Gluten, what happens to you if you have gluten?
It was like, if I start from a long time ago, I had this brain fog. And I was absolutely absent of the life, like it felt like I'm under the water. And when I took out the gluten, I can go further. When I took out the gluten, I tend to lose a couple of kilograms right away because of all the water that I'm gaining. like it's first like I started to gain water, retain water. Like my legs look like this after after this month. I was sure I gained weight actually when I came from my 39 days of.
Because you had gluten.
Because I had gluten on this, and I was sure that I gained weight, even though we were walking for hours and hours, like much more active that I wasn't home. But after a week, apparently I lost weight because just all of the water that I retained to my body, it was unbelievable. Like I could feel it in my body. You know, it's like stretched.
Yeah.
So it's like weird. It's headaches. It's like all bunch of the things.
Yeah, and those it varies for everyone. So headaches, low energy, rashes,
Depression.
hives,
Like
bloating.
It's not depression, but it's feeling anxious, much more anxious than typically me.
Yeah.
Because I'm not an anxious, I don't tend to anxiety. But after gluten, I do tend to anxiety, apparently. Yeah, it's like it's just, now I'm winning out of it. But you don't feel it as well. And as my son, he has the same symptoms. He explained it very well. He said, the first when you start with gluten, it's like you go high, everything is okay, and then one day you just drop. And he became anxious and etc. So he came home and we stopped doing it and said, you know what, today I feel much better. Like a couple of days after. So this, like it's like it's like very weird feeling to myself.
So I'm just gonna focus specifically on weight gain and how your food sensitivities or allergies can cause you to not reach your goals, your weight goals. Number one, it can affect your digestive system because these foods that your body thinks is dangerous, it has to go through your digestive system. So if you're putting in these foods that is stimulating the immune system, it's going to throw off the balance in your digestive system. So some people get bloating, they could get bloating, diarrhea, constipation diarrhea.
Yeah,
diarrhea, or
diarrhea.
both. Like they start off with constipation and then they get diarrhea. That bloating, and then when you have more inflammation in your gut, it can damage your gut. It affects your ability to absorb nutrients, and if you're not absorbing your nutrients properly, you're not digesting your food, that's where kind of the bloating can come in. And then leading into that inflammation, because when your immune system's stimulated, inflammation automatically is there, because inflammation is required to help heal. So when you've got damage, then we've got inflammation to help promote healing, but inflammation involves bloating, the water retention, the edema, all of that kind of stuff. Just when you think about inflammation, redness could cause pain. You could get cramping in your digestive system. And it can affect your blood sugar. Some people who have food sensitivities, how your body can react is when you have that food, then a few hours later your blood sugar completely drops. And when your blood sugar drops, you get cravings because you need to get that blood sugar level back up. So if you're sensitive to food, so let's say you have dairy, you eat cheese, and then a few hours later your blood sugar drops and it's like creating these cravings. You're so hungry, what are you gonna go for when you have cravings? Probably something that's unhealthy and it's not gonna be able to get you to your weight loss goals. And then in general, food sensitivities can cause weight gain in a number of these ways that I defined, and other ways just because it's your digestive system. So I had a friend, she went to so many allergists. She went to first the one that recommended by her doctor, and then she went to another allergy specialist, and they just were like, I don't know what's causing it, take a record. They usually say take a record of what's causing it. We don't really know what's causing it. And then she decided there's something going on, but no one knows what's going on, none of these doctors. So then she called me up and I said, you need to do this allergy test, the allergy test that I administer. And she said, I've already done all these allergy tests. And I said, this one is different. This one will test foods that cause reactions hours to days later. And she was saying, I've been gaining weight and I don't even eat that much, and I don't know where this weight gain is coming from. And so I encouraged her to do the test with me, And when she got her results back, wheat was off the charts. And she's not celiac. She decided after seeing it off the charts, she wanted to make sure she wasn't celiac, and she's not celiac, but the wheat was completely off the charts. She said within a week, she felt like a different person. She was already feeling like, and Victoria just mentioned a week, and she's already lost weight just by going off of that allergenic food. And the only way she knew she was allergic to it was by getting tested with me. My husband, it wasn't even a goal of his, but he was just so fed up with getting hives. He would get hives all over his neck, like really huge welts. And I would get hives too, and I realized it was from dairy too. I have a dairy sensitivity. But for him, he said that a bonus was he lost a pant size. So by just going off the dairy, he went down a pant size. So that was something that he wasn't expecting, but it happened, and he wouldn't have known. And he went to allergists as well, like, why am I getting, and they would just prescribe him antihistamines, like allergy medications, but they would still come up, and he was getting fed up. And usually that's when people come see me, because I do see clients for a variety of health conditions like diabetes or digestive issues are probably one of the most popular ones. But it's when people are fed up with the medical system that they come to me, and I try to help them out through my methods. And so, do you guys have any questions about food sensitivities?
But usually, like, I'm sure you did many tests to other people. So what kind of allergies? It's wheat?
It's 96 foods that I test. If you want more information, I have written up on the back of that sheet. It's 96 foods, and it tests like dairy, meats, a whole bunch of fruits, vegetables, legumes, nuts, seeds, wheat. Even it tests for gluten specifically, so you might not be just allergic to the wheat, but you're allergic specifically to the gluten. Or another protein that's found in wheat that people have problems with is gliadin. So it tests for that as well, and like other like coconuts on there, spelt, kamut, other grains are also.
No, just my question is what's the like big percentage of allergy, like maybe.
Good question.
Yeah, more people allergic to the wheat.
90% of my clients are sensitive to dairy. I found that from all the clients that I've done, 90% is dairy. Soy, corn, the GMOs, soy, corn, gluten, and eggs are the top ones. Eggs is another one. Yes.
Here's their origin base as well, because I heard that like India, like people from India will tend to be less allergic to, let's say, dairy.
Yeah.
And then like from East Europe more like that's the question.
Yeah.
If it's
For
origin.
sure, absolutely. There's it definitely is in cultures that anciently they had that food, like dairy. I'm going to use dairy as an example. When they traditionally have, for example, dairy, that they're able to tolerate dairy a lot more, which is absolutely the case. Asians, they tend to be, we don't have dairy a lot in our diet. We don't like, it's just, we don't have cheese, we don't really have, it's only now with Western influence that dairy is now becoming prevalent in their diet, but a lot of Asians are lactose intolerant. So they don't tolerate, a lot of them have problems with dairy. So the one client that I did have just recently, he's East Indian, and I thought for sure he'd have something because he always eats the same food all the time, and when you eat the same foods all the time, you tend to be more prone to getting a sensitivity, but he had nothing on his list, and I thought for sure because he has so much Greek yogurt every single day, I thought for sure. But no, dairy didn't come up for him because it's a traditional food that his ancestors consumed, so it was okay with him.
So vegetables can be also, people can be.
Yeah, I I haven't seen too many people.
No.
My clients that have vegetables, it's very rare to get a vegetable. The only vegetables would be corn and soy that would come up.
So then 3 top is wheat, dairy, and meat.
Soy, corn,
Soy and corn, yeah.
and eggs.
Eggs. Oh yeah.
Those are the top
Yeah.
ones. Yeah.
It's good to know.
Yeah. Any other questions about food allergies? No, so that is the end of my presentation. And if you do have questions, feel free to contact me. My email's there, my phone number. My email is info@barbaraco.ca. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at BCO Health. I'll try to be more active. I've been really busy, but I'll try to be more active and post kind of foods that I'm eating and all that kind of stuff. So follow me on Facebook or Twitter, Instagram, whatever social media you like. I'm on there at BCO Health. Yeah, is there any more questions?
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, and best of luck on your weight loss journey, and I hope that this will really help you guys obtain your goals.